I saw that Cracker Barrel made a public apology for alienating their customer base. And so I broke down in my live stream on YouTube, which I'll post. I think I posted it over here. I did an article on it at least. But I wanted to talk about because in that breakdown that I did, I was mentioning how different it was for KFC. Now, I don't want to go over all the details. Please go check out my breakdown of, what happened, what the $7 million fail was for Cracker Barrel, which was nervous system dysregulation. You guys, it is going to be so vitally important that if you're going to hold a business, that you understand how to regulate your nervous system. It's going to be so important. It already is, but it's going to be so important in the future. This is going to be a requirement for people that are going to be working for you, or if you're going to even be serving others, you have to have this regulation. So, what happened? Um, Cracker Barrel had this $700 million rollout. The CEO, Julie Fells Machino, had been working at Starbucks, working at Taco Bell, and was using that same strategy for Cracker Barrel. While it works for Starbucks, while it works for Taco Bell, Cracker Barrel is a much different animal. What really happened was she did not attune to the audience. She used the skills and the information that she had, a lot of top down cognitive decision making from an isolated place, but not really attuning into the audience that was there. I kind of made a joke. KFC did a really good job of rebranding without rebranding. Okay. So let's talk about the different strategies and compare them. So KFC had a marketing pivot. Okay. They didn't change the logo. They didn't change the colors. They didn't modernize any of that. They kept that. So when they kept the Colonel Sanders character, it anchored the heritage brand that people identified with. This is why nervous system first leadership is so important. People associate brands with their own identity. People buy designer clothing, designer makeup, boutique, all kinds of things. They want to look like an individual, but they still, have this connection with the lifestyles that are around branding. And now even more so than ever in history. Okay. I think the closest thing I can think of is, all the kings and queens would have royal purple in their clothing or royal red, these beautiful colors, while everyone else had, these beige and very simple colors of clothing to wear. So it really is like what you have access to. So even still, we have that basic human element of identity and belonging, and it is associated with our class system. Okay. So they kept the Colonel Sanders character, and they didn't change the brand logo. They didn't change the look. They didn't push away anything that was nostalgic. They didn't push away anything that was heritage. They kept that core, but they shifted the image and like the personality of who the Colonel was. So they gave him a playful, rotating refresh. Okay. They used different celebrities. They used different actors. They used animated versions to kind of fill that role. They made him younger, okay? They made him ironic and meme friendly while still being recognizable. You can still tell that that is Colonel Sanders. They kind of made him this iconic, youthful thing. I put it on my YouTube. Maybe I'll share it on Substack here, but I found the video. It has the Satisfaction. It's like this really upbeat techno song. Um, Push me and then just touch me until I get my satisfaction. And it's this guy dressed up as Colonel Sanders dancing to that song. And that's a viral song. Every time I see it, I feel really good watching it. It's like it speaks to me on this really deep, beautiful level. Even though I'm not necessarily like the ideal audience to go to KFC, I'm not like I don't prefer to go there, but I'm associating it now. Whereas before I was like, no, I don't want to eat there. Now I would probably likely eat there if I, had some choices and that was a choice because of that connection that I have with the Colonel Sanders character. Okay. So that's what they did. Now, why it worked, customers never lost their safety cue. So when we talk about nervous system first leadership, the leadership understands how deeply their energy goes in connecting with others, all the stakeholders. The stakeholders are the investors, it's the employees, it's the customers, it's their teams that they're working together. They understand that their nervous system is important to be regulated. Now, with KFC, when they were rebranding or, kind of modernizing, giving this image a heavier, deeper role, they never lost their safety cue. What happened was the Colonel is still here. We didn't change the logo. We took, we took our iconic mascot and we just made him playful. We made him younger. We gave him a little pep in his step. Okay? But the safety cue was still there. We're still KFC. We still have the Colonel. We still have the same logo. You can still identify us. If you have a sense of belonging or identity with KFC, we're still here. So that safety cue is a psychological safety net that anchors the emotional somatics of human connection with the brand. It gives a psychological safety as far as marketing goes. Now, as I said, humor and playfulness signaled an evolution. People were receptive to it. They saw it and they felt good. And so it spoke to the heart of the audience. There wasn't nope, we're getting rid of the Colonel, he died. That would have been traumatic. That would have been a loss. There would have been grief. Okay. But they didn't do that. They kept him and then they gave him this signaled evolution of playfulness and humor and relatableness. But they fit it within that familiar frame. They fit it within the frame of, what their brand identity is. They didn't lose it. So because of the way they rolled that out, because of how gentle of it was very much well paced. Whatever marketing firm came up with the idea to take the Colonel and make him young and playful and humorous and into a meme was a brilliant marketing strategist or whatever that team was brilliant. It allowed cultural adaptability without breaking the tradition. So you still have little anchors of tradition and nostalgia, but it allowed this evolution to go from being we cater to this market to now we cater to this market and that market because it's still here. Okay. So how does this differ from what Cracker Barrel did? So Cracker Barrel removed the anchor entirely. They removed the old timer, Uncle Herschel, they removed the barrel, they removed the decor from the restaurants. They changed the menu overnight. There wasn't a rollout, there wasn't playfulness, there wasn't fun, there wasn't this adaptable connection to what the new thing was. They just pulled it out. And that caused a shock. It cracked the nervous system of the people who identified with the brand Cracker Barrel. Okay. So whatever marketing team and the CEO who signed off on that, they not only did they not get the new audience that they were after for growth because of their strategy, they actually lost customers. And I think even more still, I lost customer trust. They lost customer trust. Okay. So they moved that anchor. So now people are like, oh my gosh, is this even the same Cracker Barrel? I know it sounds silly, but people, I'm telling you, people want that belonging. They want that identity. And when you pull that out, it's a traumatic, stressful situation. I know it sounds silly, but it's true. People copycat recipes from Cracker Barrel. Okay. They seek out Cracker Barrel when they're in the regions that Cracker Barrels are available. They're not in my region, but I've been to a Cracker Barrel, I think in Wisconsin. And it was just to try it out. Okay, I'm traveling. I'm going to go try it out. What did they do wrong? The next thing they did wrong was they presented a cold, minimalist logo. There was no emotional bridge. It was like they cut all of the emotional attachment out of it. Again, this is a traumatic moment. Not saying that those that were backlashing against what happened were right in the way that they went around it, but the feelings were already there. And so it stirred up these feelings of not belonging. It stirred up these feelings of exclusivity that were already politically in the air. So the timing wasn't right. Like I said, this CEO was not attuned to the times. This wasn't an Aunt Jemima. This wasn't an Uncle Ben time. Those things, even though there was backlash, were received a lot better than 2025 Cracker Barrel changing their logo and rebranding. So it created loss instead of playfulness. And if a leader is really attuned to their team, to their employees, to, the strategy and how is it going to play out, tuned to their customers, if they really knew and embodied proper leadership, they would have been a lot less reactionary and a lot more, okay, let's test this out. Let's test this out. We've got time. Let's test this out instead of spending $700 million trying to implement this cold, emotionless brand change to get a younger clientele. Instead, they they lost, and they lost the public trust, and they lost a lot of their customer base. And they had to go into freeze mode and appease everyone who, rose up to say something. But now, because of where they're at, the customer's nervous systems read it as now your home is gone. If you've been taking your family to Cracker Barrel every Sunday, for your whole since you had a family, that place is gone now. The decor is gone, the rocking chairs are gone, the checkerboards are gone, all these things that you're so used to having as an extension of your family, basically, because remember, this is identity. You've just shattered and fractured the identities of millions of customers. I don't know how many customers they have, but let's say it's like 1 million or so, millions of customers that go into your store and have been for X number of years, regardless of what happens. So home is gone. Instead of what could have happened would have been home got a new porch light. Okay. Home got a new fresh paint, new fresh paint job. It's the same Uncle Herschel. It's a different Uncle Herschel with the same sweet tea. Nothing's changed at the core of it. Remember, we want that anchored heritage safety cue. So that's what Cracker Barrel did wrong. So, in looking at how KFC did this really awesome rebrand, they kept the heritage, they kept anchoring that. What they could have done is preserve that character as an anchor. Okay, so you keep the old timer, but evolve him in a playful direction. You can do flashbacks of Uncle Herschel as young Herschel. Could have animated Uncle Herschel teaching kids how to play chess or checkers. I think they have checkerboards, so checkers, chess. You can find local storytellers embodying the old timer vibe to put onto social media. Anything that you can do to preserve, even like doing funny memes of, maybe Uncle Herschel in the store, and then you like have all these actors that you can hire. That helps to refresh and evolve the brand without taking out the heritage anchor that is necessary. The next piece is using humor and whimsy. So KFC leaned into the joke and had multiple colonels. Okay. So there's multiple colonels doing silly things, whatever. But Cracker Barrel could have leaned into that same type of warmth. Some things don't change, right? Uncle Herschel working at the old country store, Uncle Herschel's sweet tea recipe. Just like pick some recipes that people just know that they're always going to get and like anchor that in. Like, we're not getting rid of this. We're not getting rid of that. Instead, you're not communicating to your audience. You're not communicating to your stakeholders. That's what happened. And so there's this fear that, oh my gosh, like that's gone. Now I'm basically going through the stages of grief. Cracker Barrel is no more. Eracism is what my mom used to call it. But you have this eraser of the brand. And that's very shocking to the system for some people. So you modernize around, not against the anchor. The barrel is part of they didn't even keep the barrel. It was just this, really bland logo. But then when you're trying to evolve, you use them into new experiences. He's your guide into the new Cracker Barrel, what we're doing. Maybe use Uncle Herschel learning how to do an app purchase. Uncle Herschel loves biscuits, but now we've got avocado toast on the menu. things like that. Things that modernize, but still anchor and still incorporate that old country store, and you're just evolving the character. So the next piece is signal continuity and evolution. So instead of erasing the old, we're erasing the old stuff. You just say, we're expanding the story. We're building on what we have already. It's a foundation. That personal brand identity is a foundation. Okay. So this helps to co-regulate nervous systems. That's what KFC did really well. They co-regulated the nervous system of the comfort of home, the brand, with this new curiosity coming in. Oh, we still have what's normal. They do this with kids, okay? So with kids, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like they have their parent that they're attached to, and then the parent goes out to, or the parent lets the child go out and play. So maybe it's a little bit out and then they come back. And then maybe next time it's a little further and they come back when they're like, they need to like be in another sense of safety. You have to treat your brand like that. You're a parent, and when you have these new ideas, you've got to treat them like this young idea of, okay, let's pilot it. Let's choose these markets. Let's see what happens. Instead, it was just basically stripped. Okay. So the core lesson here is nervous system first leadership. This is why the nervous system is the most important first thing that you want to get right as far as being an authentic leader, being embodied. So the KFC example shows that you don't have to shock your system in order for things to evolve. You you don't have to shock the system. You simply take what is there as the foundation and you build on it. I'm a gardener. I love gardening. And when you have a garden, sometimes you start with just a little box, maybe a planter, or maybe a series of planters. And then the next year, you add something more to it. And then the next year, you add even more to it. And the next year, you add more, and you just keep on growing outward, 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 out. Keep on building, building, building. And that's what brand evolution is. It's just like a garden you're tending to. And that's what KFC did right. KFC did that right with the Colonel. They didn't just limit him to this one celebrity for a long period of time. It was multiple celebrities, multiple actors, multiple different ideas, and throwing them out there in a playful, humorous way and seeing what worked, seeing what didn't work. And that is the sign of a regulated nervous system. Whoever did that, like I said, they were brilliant. They did that brilliantly. It played out very well. So you don't shock the system, you evolve it, you anchor in tradition, which is a parasympathetic safety cue. Okay, that is your safety cue. This is home base. This is your anchor. We're not getting rid of the heritage. We're just going to evolve it a little bit. Introduce playful updates, which is this. It's still a sympathetic response, but it's a novelty. Oh, what's that? Oh, what's this? Do I like that? No, I don't really like that. Do I like that? Oh, yeah, that really lands. That was really funny. I'm going to share it with my friends. That was really funny. I want to talk about that with somebody. And then when you're able to take the anchor of tradition and then the curiosity of the playfulness, then you can hold those both together and begin the connection of the two. And then it becomes embedded into the marketing aspect of it. Okay. So Cracker Barrel, I think they still have room. They're still able to modernize, but only if they use Uncle Herschel as a bridge to do that. And maybe it's not the only way, but they have to keep some of the heritage nostalgia and that. This Cracker Barrel is not a fast food restaurant. It's not a high paced Starbucks. Okay, you cannot treat them in the same, like, they are franchises, yes, but you cannot treat them the same. It's different. It's very much different. And yes, to a certain degree, KFC is the same, but KFC had this human element to it, right? Starbucks has a mermaid, Taco Bell has a bell, but KFC has a colonel. And so it's only natural that it would be well for Cracker Barrel if they really want to uplift their marketing strategy and evolve their image by doing some of the similar things that KFC did in modernizing, making and keeping it fun. So you can modernize, but not without the causality. If we rebrand, we have to ditch everything that's worked for us for the past, uh, is it 50, almost 50 years? That's a long time. That's embedded in a couple of generations of people. So, okay. Anyways, I wanted to come on and talk about how those things are so related and how this is how a nervous system regulated leader would operate. Okay. They would be able to see that this needs pacing. We need to test this. We need to pilot it. We need to gather some data before we just full on launch something. Because that's a very reactive way to engage with your audience. Anyways, um, if that sounds really interesting to you guys, I really strongly encourage that you go and pre-order my book, The $8 Truth, Exposing a $380 billion lie. I outline why nervous system first leadership is important. This is for executives, for middle managers, for people who are responsible for others. It doesn't matter if you're directly or indirectly responsible for others. If you're going to be navigating people and you want to have strong emotional intelligence, strong social intelligence, you have to have the nervous system regulated first. And I explain all of it in my book, and I encourage you to get a copy. If you pre-order it, it is $5. If you buy it on launch day, it's $8. Either way, this is the future playbook to well-being workplaces. When you're able to operate in a nervous system regulated state, not saying that there's not people out there that are, but there is a lot of people that out there that aren't. And it contributes to toxic workplace environments. And I am looking to end that. And I'm starting with my playbook. So please get yourself a copy. It helps me. It helps the cause. It's only $5. It's about a cup of coffee. So it really helps to invest in me in investing in that. Really, it's a nice toolkit for you to get started on how can I regulate. This isn't just take a deep breath. This isn't go on a vacation. This isn't, here's the basic strategies. This is a detail of how you get there and then an open offer to work with me if that is something that you feel led to do. And I strongly encourage that you find people who resonate with your system to work with. I'm not for everybody. And so I only have an elite group of people that I will work with. But so I have applications if you're interested. However, first and foremost, I want to get this message out because I want regulated leaders and well-being workplaces to be the norm, not the toxic ones that we end up in and then, you know, want to leave, but then we feel like we have to stay in it in order to survive. That's just not how I want to operate anymore. And so I hope that you can stand with me in that. Anyhow, have a good evening. Thank you so much, Substack, and I will chat with you later. Bye.